say the panic, that are wondering sort of what happened and what unfolded. I will also note it's an extremely hot day here in Pennsylvania. You had a number of people that felt like they were already being overheated, so much so that the seats toward the front of the rally were actually prioritized for those who felt like they needed to take a seat, or those who were elderly, or those who felt like the conditions were just getting too much for them. As we were on the air, you saw the scene as I took you through it. You saw those chairs being toppled over. That was a sign of just how much panic there was in the moment, or people just trying to get to the ground. But for now, here is what I can tell you. We cleared out of this area. We know that Secret Service has roped it off. This has now just become a gathering point for people that were in the rally. As I mentioned to you before, there's so many people that are inside of these rallies that oftentimes the cell phone reception isn't really great. So we see a lot of people that are out here that are on the phones, probably connecting with their loved ones and families, letting them know that they're okay, letting them know they're probably leaving this area as well. But this is the current scene right now. We've been escorted out. We were told to leave everything there for now, and we were told that we'd be able to go back inside to gather the rest of our belongings once police have cleared the area.
Rachel, first of all, we are so glad you and your team are okay. And your reporting has just been excellent throughout this entire campaign, and especially tonight as well. Tell us a little bit more about what happened in the crowd. You described this a moment earlier, but we have some new viewers likely joining our coverage. You said that after those popping sounds occurred, that it did appear that law enforcement rushed a specific area or person in the crowd?
Yeah, so it was this sort of split screen that we saw play out with. First, initially, we heard this series of popping noises. Then we heard screams from the crowd, people shouting, "Get down, get down." We were on the press riser. We had just finished doing World News Tonight with you. We were live on the air. And just minutes after the former president took the stage, this is when all of this happened. He had only been on the stage for a matter of minutes. So you hear these popping noises. And then after that, what we hear were screams. We all looked, turned over our shoulders. Of course, we see Secret Service agents swarm the former president. They rush and shield him, essentially, using their bodies as shields to get the former president down. Also, then, if I'm standing on the riser, it was over my right shoulder. What we saw was then Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials swarm another area that was on the riser. And there we saw, I'm not sure if it was one person, I am not sure if it was multiple persons, but what we saw was Secret Service and law enforcement agents swarm that area in particular, and then escort someone out of that area. So we have no idea necessarily what exactly happened during that time. We know that there were people that were just getting down during that moment, and there were screams. Then it took several minutes. First, we saw the former president being rushed out. Obviously, what we saw was the former president. You've seen those images. He stood up, he put his fists up, and it was a sign and signal that he was okay. The crowd then cheered. And then after the former president was rushed into his own vehicle, and that vehicle was taken away, then we saw that separate area clear, where Secret Service agents and law enforcement agents had surrounded possibly another individual, and that person was then taken away. It was only then did we start to see the crowd sort of clear. And there was this sort of moment, Wick, where people didn't necessarily know what exactly to do, whether or not it was safe to leave. People were looking around, asking if it was okay. We're hearing a helicopter right now. You can see it there that's taking off right now. Then we saw law enforcement officials. They came out. They started putting crime scene tape to rope off that area. Members of the press, we were sort of the last ones that were escorted out and told to leave. We were told to leave everything behind. But there were certainly these moments where people were just very confused, didn't know exactly what happened, and were rushing to just sort of exit the area as Secret Service and law enforcement officials were trying to block off the area where this occurred with.
All right, Rachel Scott for us again with those remarkable moments as they played out. These images as well, with the former president pumping his fist, what appears to be, well, again, we're not sure, can't confirm, what appears to be blood dripping down his face, and the cheers of the crowd as Donald Trump got back up onto his feet and was then led away by the Secret Service. Let's bring in our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, who's been watching all of this. And Pierre, time and time again, you've been talking about the political threat level, the environment in this country for months. Again, still a lot of information that we're waiting to get here, Pierre. But talk about what your law enforcement sources are telling you, and we're also getting more information about the former president's condition.
Indeed. I've talked to a number of sources, and one thing that they're fairly comfortable saying is that they do not believe that former President Trump sustained any sort of life-threatening injury. They are being very careful about what they can release until they can get a more full accounting. Officials in Washington reaching out to the authorities there. We are told that the White House has been briefed. President Biden has been briefed. The Homeland Security Secretary is waiting additional information as well. So right now, law enforcement is converging, trying to get information because, as you said, with the threat environment right now is critically high. Law enforcement super worried about the potential of violence, and they're being careful right now because they don't have all the details. But that has been in the backdrop for days now. Security for the conventions will be super high, in part because of concerns about incidents like this, whatever this turns out to be.
And Pierre, to your point, it's worth pointing out this response that we got from a Trump spokesperson, too, because they said that President Trump, after thanking law enforcement and first responders, they said they called it a heinous act. But they did say that the former president is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. Pierre Thomas, stand by for us. I want to go back to John Carl. John, I understand you're getting word from the governor of Pennsylvania.
Yes, we're getting a wide range of reaction. And before I get to that, I just want to reiterate, playing off of what Pierre just said, the statement that we heard from the Secret Service, very important because this is the bottom line here. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. So yes, no life-threatening wounds. The former president is safe. That's what we're hearing from the Secret Service. That's what we're hearing from the Trump campaign. We are also hearing from the governor of Pennsylvania, who, by the way, is a Democrat, the governor Josh Shapiro. He's been briefed on the situation as the governor when this all took place, and he has put out a statement saying violence targeted at any political party or political any political party is absolutely unacceptable. It has no place in Pennsylvania or in the United States. By the way, we're hearing from several others in the political world. Democratic Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, saying violence has no place in our democracy. My thoughts are with President Trump. Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, another